Hey guys, welcome to Pancreas Pals. Emily here.
And Christie.
And this week, we're changing things up a little bit. I was very lucky to receive through the press a Freestyle Libre 3, which isn't out in the US yet. I believe it's out in Europe, but it is the latest version of the continuous glucose monitor, which is a CGM, if you're jargony like us, and we will be using CGM moving forward. So I got 3 in the mail from Abbott's press people. I think I'm gonna be doing something for work with this, so it's not like it was sponsored through Pancreas Pals or anything like that, but it was gifted, so I do like to say that and, just discuss my privilege for a second because, there's all that loaded stuff there with, how expensive all of our supplies are as type 1 diabetics or any type of diabetic for that matter. Putting all of that in a box and shoving it away for later, to cry about in my, nightly cry about insulin prices, I would love to talk about the Freestyle Libre 3. And I thought that, hey, an episode of me just chatting at you guys sounds horrible. And I would hate to edit that. But what do I love hearing in my ears? Oh, Christie's voice. And Christie is new to the CGM world. She has a Dexcom. Um, and it's been a journey for her to get there in a sense that she's been thriving without a CGM. They're not for everyone, but now she's using one. Uh, but I'm getting off topic as usual, which is another reason why I need Christy here. So I've asked Christy to interview me kind of on this Freestyle Libre 3 that has FDA approval in the US and should be available in pharmacies or wherever you get your supplies in the coming months, according to Abbott's website. So, Christy, should I start off by explaining what it looks like for podcasters
Yeah,
because it's
I was gonna say, so you're right. When I'm thinking about it, I've only actually had the Dexcom G6, which is my first CGM ever. I've only had it for a little bit over a year. It was something the doctor said I had to do pre-pregnancy. So when I started doing all of my other, you know, research into how to have a safe T1D pregnancy, it was something I kind of had to do, and now I can't imagine my life without it. So I guess let's start with, just because I'm going to compare it now to what I have attached to my
yes. So
arm.
I
So
should
let's
probably
start out with what does
oh,
it physically look
sorry.
like, and then the process of attaching it to your body. Like, how is it the same or different from Dexcom?
Yeah. So I should start off by saying that I am currently also wearing my Dexcom. So talk about privilege. I'm doubling up. I just really wanted to see how
Oh,
they
that's
compared.
very interesting. That's very interesting.
I did it as a purely because I think for the article I'm going to write for my day job, hit up prevention.com or Prevention the magazine. I think I'm going to compare the two because, Freestyle is by Abbott. Freestyle Libre 2 is the one out on the market now that a lot of Medicare and Medicaid patients use, and also really pretty much anyone who doesn't use a Dexcom or Medtronic CGM. Um, and that's because they are so much more affordable, like light years more affordable, and still expensive, but light years more affordable than Dexcom. So let's break it down. So I'm going to be comparing Dexcom G6 to the Freestyle Libre 3. So when we talk about application, first of all, since this is a podcast, I'm just going to say the Freestyle Libre 3 is a white little disc, if you will, that is the width of 2 pennies stacked on top of each other and probably the diameter of your thumbnail. It's very, very small. It's wild. I put it on and Matt, my boyfriend, was like, "Where is it?" And I was like, "It's on my arm." And he's like, "Where? I see your insulin pump on your arm." And I'm like, "It's literally on the other side." And he was like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" So and then, anyone who's unaware of what the Dexcom G6 looks like, I'd say it's probably more like the length of my pinky. I have a small hand, so I don't know. But, and a little bit more of a bean shape, if you will. How would you describe it? It's definitely, I'd say it's probably about twice as big or at least twice as long as the Freestyle Libre 3.
and it, and
Dex,
it's relatively thick. Like, if you're
yeah,
wearing,
she thick.
not that I ever alter my fashion around my CGM. I wear it loud and proud now, but if you're wearing like tightly fitted shirt over your CGM, like you can see it
For
bulge
sure.
through. It's not tiny.
This just goes, I'm dating myself here. The G6 is so much of a slimmer profile compared to the G4 and G5. So if anyone's, I think they discontinued the G5. I know they discontinued the G4, but I'm comparing this to the latest version of Dexcom, which, you know, when you're comparing it to something the size of one penny in like size, but two pennies stacked on top of each other in thickness, like that is not a lot at all. Um, and anyone out there that is not in the US, that is probably, I'm trying to think of what's comparable to a penny. I don't know, Google a penny. So
I was going to say a dime, but that's not helpful at all.
I'm dead. That's iconic. So in terms of application, the Freestyle Libre 3 has this really, you know, I think the way I describe the entire Freestyle Libre 3 process, and again, this is not a paid sponsorship. I do have some qualms with the Freestyle Libre 3 that I will bring up later in this episode. Um, the whole process of the Freestyle Libre 3 is cute. Like, there's no other way to describe it. The actual, and I think I was watching a Nerdabetic YouTube video before I applied it, and he was like, "This is just cute. It's cute," and I was like, "What's he talking about?" And then I was sent it, and I was like, "Damn, she cute." He's right. It's basically just, it's such a small, like, it's just nondescript. It's like, it's chill. If I could describe a CGM, I would never describe it as chill because that alarms go off on you. Like, you know, it's obvious that you're wearing one for most of the time, unless, you know, depending on where you're putting it, which again is fine, power to you. But it's really small. The adhesive doesn't poke out a lot around the edges, so you really are mostly just seeing this dime-sized white little disc. Um, but as far as the applicator goes, it's also a really small applicator because, you know, the said CGM is very small. So it's probably about like like half the size of a fist, I would say. And you literally just kind of like, it's hard to explain. Anyone who's ever used a tubing pump system, who's had to apply a tubed pump, will probably know what I'm talking about. But it's an applicator that has a circle, and then on the inside of the circle, a dome, if you will, is the actual CGM, and then a needle that's going to insert the CGM. And all you do is literally press it into your skin, and it goes down and it's applied. The needle comes back out, obviously, because it uses a cannula system, I believe, similar to the Dexcom and any other CGM, to measure the interstitial fluid between the levels of the skin. At least that's true of the Dexcom. I'm assuming that's the same thing here because that's kind of how CGMs tend to work. Because anything that's reading your blood is not usually a CGM, that's a glucometer. Or you're in the hospital where they're literally reading it through an IV. So that's a whole other thing. No one quote me on this. I'm not a medical professional. So that application process literally takes 2 seconds. You apply it and then you press a button on your a compatible app. So the Freestyle Libre 3 does not have a handheld device. It has to be a smartphone. I believe, I know for sure it works on the iPhone, but I think it also works on Androids. I'm not sure if it works on any other smartphones. But so that's definitely a ding against it. In case anything happens to your phone, you really can't use it. Um, so in New York, I feel like you'd live in fear if someone's snatching your phone and there goes your CGM, but no backups to be had. But so the application process is literally that simple. You press a button and it says like scan to warm up. It counts. You literally just hold your phone up next to the dime size CGM that's on your skin. It's only cleared to be worn on the back of an arm. So that's another big difference compared to Dexcom's abdomen suggested use. Um, but you scan it, it literally counts down from 60 minutes and it is up and running in 60 minutes, and it alerts you that it's running with I chose vibration. But that's it in terms of the setup. Like, it's super chill. You can set your graph heights, you know, similar to Dexcom. It has different graphs. It'll show you like your 2 month, 2 month, 2 week trends. Like, there's a lot of graphs to be had there. The app isn't the prettiest of things. I find the Dexcom app much more calming. But I do think that for those that are visually impaired or those that have issues with maybe seeing colors, the the Freestyle Libre 3 app is really interesting that it has aha. Okay, so this is something I was going to bring up later. Christy, I don't know if you can see this. I'm showing this to you. Um,
I'm comparing it now.
the signal loss on the Libre 3, basically anytime my blood sugar is moving quickly in either direction, I get a signal loss. And that is my biggest issue with any CGM, but especially the Freestyle Libre 3, because every time I take a shower, my blood sugar drops like crazy. Um, Even if it's like a 4-minute shower, like a rinse off, my blood sugar will like drop like about 60 points unless I eat something or, I'm closed loop system. So now it pretty much catches it. But if I was using this as now we're back. So there's some signal loss issues that I find to be problematic with the Libre 3. I have never used any other type of Libre CGM, so I don't know if this is specific to the 3 or if the 1 and 2 iterations were similar, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. As far as the Dexcom application goes, we all know if anyone's been through it, like I have with Dexcom, like since the G4 era, or maybe even G1, whatever there was before, um, you know that the application system has drastically changed and, in my opinion, majorly improved. Anything's better than that huge ass long syringe that you had to manually stick into yourself, and it hurt like so bad for me. It was a whole thing. I had to psych myself up every 10 days to use it. But obviously for me, I didn't feel my lows, so it was like a kind of a must. Um, but now the G6 has this kind of automatic insertion where there's a lot of details that go into it where you like put in a sensor number into the app or your handheld device and then confirm it and then adhere it to the skin and remove a little safety thing, and then you click it and it inserts, and then you're pretty much good to go. And then you put in your not receiver, what's it called? Is it what's the middle part? Well, you put in the silver thing that stays the same. And
I was gonna say I never had to.
no,
I didn't use this era.
no. This is the G6. So you put in the is it the sensor? No, is that what it's
Oh
called?
yeah, sorry, sensor transmitter.
The transmitter. Thank you. I'm like totally blanking on words here. The
I don't know what I
transmitter.
thought you were describing. I thought you were describing like an old middle ground piece of an old
Oh, I
design.
was like a minute and a half ago, but I've been going like a million miles a minute. Sorry, everyone listening. It's probably best. I'm just going to show a graphic of G6 compared to the Libre 3 when we're posting this on the site, and you can see it that way. But moral of it, the warm up period is 2 hours on the G6. So that's twice that of the Libre 3. And I can't speak for others, but I've been super vocal about this. The G6 for me is super inaccurate the first 24 to 36 hours, to the fact where I am finger pricking my like going old school almost. I do not trust the Dexcom G6 for the first 24 to 30, like maybe even 48 hours after application. Do you find that, Christy?
I find that definitely, I mean, the first day I know is a given, and especially during pregnancy when you're trying to keep like tighter numbers, it being slightly off is a problem because if your target range, like if I'm trying to hang out in the 70s and it's telling me that I'm like 50 double arrows down and I'm like, no, actually I'm 71. Like technically it's only off by 20, but that's huge. And if it's doing that repeatedly throughout the day, it really just kind of messes you up because you really are trying to catch things like trends. And if you find yourself constantly calibrating, like I can only calibrate so many times in a day before I'm really looking at the CGM and I'm like, this was not useful to me today because I'm trying
Right.
to see what my afternoon looked like. And I have to remind myself, okay, so when it said I was 60, I was actually 90. Like I'm trying to play like a mental catch up game.
Right.
I mean, once you're through those first couple of days, like I wouldn't be relying on the CGM so heavily if I didn't find Dexcom reliable
Yeah.
most of the time. Like once you get through those first 2 days, I find it incredibly accurate.
Same.
Days 3 through 10. But it was funny the other day. I was complaining about it because I was like, "Why is this telling me that I'm dropping so rapidly when I am not?" And then if I like have a snack, then suddenly it's telling me, all right, so you're already at 150. And I'm like, no, that can't be. And I'm not. But again, I can only calibrate and try to correct the system and get it to catch up so much. And Zach was helping me do some math, and he was like, all right, so if 2 to 3 days out of every 10 days that you change the sensor, it's essentially not reliable and you're finger pricking the whole time anyway. Like that's X% of your year and like X% of your time that
Right.
you're supposed to be able to rely on this and you can't. And when you think about it that way, that's kind of,
It hurts the heart a little bit.
it's just upsetting because again, when you really do rely on your CGM data as well as an accurate reading to make a decision, the accuracy is super, super important.
Now, a word from one of our sponsors. Hey, Christie, have you heard of US Med Supply?
I think I've seen a commercial for it. It's a medical supply company, right?
Yeah, but apparently they're the #1 distributor for Freestyle Libre systems nationwide, the #1 specialty distributor for Omnipod Dash, and the #1 fastest growing tandem distributor nationwide. Plus, they're rated as the #1 distributor in Dexcom customer satisfaction surveys.
Ooh, sounds like something I need to check out. Do they partner with most insurance companies?
Yep, and they'll even help us get set up and work with our insurance companies so we don't have to spend hours on the phone.
The actual dream.
Right? We and all of our pals can head to usmed.com/pals or call 888-721-1516 to sign up now.
Already on their website.
And now back to the episode. Yeah. I mean, so here's the thing. So I'm wearing both, right? I'm wearing the Dexcom G6 and the Libre 3. Honestly, guys, start a drinking game to how many times I'm saying these words. You might not make it through the episode or through life. But I am using my Dexcom as like kind of I'm listening to my Dexcom after day 3. After day 2, I'm taking that at face value. Whereas the Libre, I am noticing on I haven't worn it for the full 2 weeks because like in
Oh,
all
you can wear it for
honesty,
2 weeks?
yes, so that's another thing. So maybe I should run through all the facts about Libre 3 real quick, and then I'll get into my hot takes. So the Libre 3, we talked about the size, we talked about the application process, but as far as how long it lasts and you can wear it, it's 14 days. So that right there is 4 extra days than you get with the Dexcom G6, unless you know how to hack the Dexcom G6, but even then you'd have to restart it and, redo all that stuff, which I don't know how to hack the Dexcom G6. But that's a whole separate episode. So lasts for 14 days. You have all these graphs. You have a color coded high, low, in range, rise and quickly, color coded alert system or not even alert system, a color coded app. So when you open the app and you see green, that means you're in range. If you see orange, that means you're a little bit high. If you see red, that means you're super high, or that means you're low. Yeah, I'm confusing these, but again, I'll show a picture and you guys can check it out for yourselves. Whereas the Dexcom, it's yellow if you're high, red if you're low, and I believe gray if you're within range. So the colors, in my opinion, for the Freestyle Libre, I think would be better for those that have issues seeing certain colors. Like if you can't recognize gray, then how would you know that there's a lot of
I
different things.
I do think it's kind of funny that that's like the target color. And I joke about this that my high alert is the doorbell on Dexcom because I have I've trained myself now when I hear a doorbell, I like literally shudder. If I hear it on TV, I
Yeah.
groan and I'm like, oh no. But like I literally have a different association with the color gray now.
Yeah.
A different association with yellow because
Right?
now that's high. I think I understand why the low is red, but I don't know. I would have done they're also very, like, pastel colors.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
they're all of us very similar tone.
Yeah.
It's also depressing
I
looking at mine now because what I have for in range is so tight.
Oh god, yeah, don't
Like,
even
look at how much yellow I have. Can you even see?
I literally don't wanna look at that.
Like, so much yellow.
You're so in range, though. That's, insane. So, um, Ew, this is telling me my average blood sugar was 162. That cannot be. Oh, no, I was in Spain. That sounds about right. I had a hell of a time in Spain, but that's a whole other story. I was fine. I just ate a lot of patatas bravas and churros and other things. But back to the Dexcom G6 versus the Freestyle Libre 3. Christie takes a drink of her water. Um, another thing that this is kind of a ding against the Freestyle Libre 3, like a tick against it in my book, a con, if you will. You can't really choose a lot of different. Oh, perfect timing. That was my Dexcom going off. I have my target set higher on the Freestyle Libre 3 because I would die if I had multiple alarms going off simultaneously.
Yeah, that,
Um,
that would be kind of rude. Like,
that's
I
gonna be a
understand there's
no
something I
for
need to
me.
do.
Yeah, it's gonna be a no for me. But as far as the sound of alerts go for the Freestyle Libre 3, you really only have two choices. And let's see if I can play them for you guys. Um, so yeah, there's either custom or standard. Let's see if
Wait, can you upload? That's actually a huge thing for me. I
so
told you,
no. So
oh,
this is what's so confusing,
I
and I
really
asked
want the
the
Jaws theme song for my lows. I want it
that would be
so
iconic.
bad.
That'd be iconic. But the the issue is that it's called custom, but it's not. It's just a sound that they named custom. So it's not like you can upload a custom sound. I don't really understand that. Maybe someone at Abbott wants to at me and explain. This isn't a hill I'll die on. I'm not losing any sleep over this, but I just think it's very odd. Then the other sound is the other alarm tone is called standard. So I don't know what's going on with that, but you can choose between those sounds. But for high and low alerts, but then for urgent low alerts, it automatically you can't choose, and it's automatically the custom tone. So I think the thought process here is like, I mean, again, I can't explain the naming of them or the fact that they only have two sounds to choose from, but you can't change the urgent low sound because you'll know. Like no one will get confused with that urgent low sound. Whereas on Dexcom, you could have all of your alerts be the same sound, but you can't have that here. Um, maybe you can actually now that I think about it because custom is an option. I don't know. Someone at Abbott, please explain this to me, and I'll follow up with you guys. But
So wait, Emily, I have to ask, we talked about accuracy, but I'm curious. So you said you're kind of going by Dexcom after day 2. So as far as like accuracy, but also comparability goes, how similar at any given time of day are the readings on the Libre and the Dexcom? Like, what's the average
so
difference between the readings?
So they are very similar, and this is something that has me super excited about the Libre 3. I, again, have not worn it for the full 2 weeks, so I can't speak to the efficacy or I should say the accuracy after about a week or even like 5 days because apparently you're not supposed to wear the Freestyle Libre through a metal detector. And since I was going to Spain, um, and had TSA pre-check and didn't feel like getting a pat down, I was like, I'm taking this off because I had the privilege of having that choice. So, um, I did find though that the accuracy is very comparable. I will say I just had a whole bunch of cookies, and right now, Freestyle Libre is saying I'm 223 and Dexcom saying I'm 194. Would I choose the Dexcom? Yes, because that makes me feel better about my situation. But at the same time, I did do a finger prick, and I was much closer to Dexcom in when I did that finger prick. But that was probably like an hour and a half ago, so I'd have to do another finger prick, which I did not bring into my bedroom with me to record this episode. My meter, that is. So, guys, I don't know which one's more accurate, but they're within 30 points of each other. So to me, that's a win.
That is a win. And then is it the same system with the Libre as it is with Dexcom where you can calibrate? So let's say
Yeah,
that it's in the first 2 days, you check on your meter and it's telling you something different enough from what your Dexcom is showing you that you can say, hey, actually, this is what it is. Does Dexcom actually then autocorrect to that reading? No, and I have beef with that, but I am curious if it's a similar system wherein you can put in the correct blood sugar and the system can try to catch up.
nowhere that I see that is clear to me in the app for me to manually insert, like type in a blood sugar number. So that is a big difference. Maybe it's in settings. No, unit measurement, report settings, carbohydrate units. Yeah, no. So that's a really good question. And they did go over that with me. I just don't remember. But I do think that that is a positive thing from the Dexcom G6 that you can calibrate, even though, I've found I haven't really needed to calibrate with the Libre 3. So maybe that says more.
I was gonna say maybe it's not quite as necessary.
Yeah. What's also haunting on the Libre 3 is that you can look up your sensor usage and it tells you how many times you viewed the app. So your girl is hella dependent, and it looks like I get about 23 views per day to that app. Now, if we were talking about my Dexcom, I'm really glad that that data is not available to me at this moment, because I don't even know if they'd be able to count that, because I have my Dexcom on my Apple Watch. I have it like everywhere, and your girl is hella dependent. So that is a sobering number to look at.
I can promise you mine is higher.
Well, you're pregnant.
I can promise you. If I could just have it out all the time, sometimes I do, which might sound sick, but I promise it actually is a comfort. Like we were eating out at lunch today for my mom's birthday, and I just kind of had it open next to me because we got appetizers and then a main. And when you're trying to pre-bolus,
Right.
especially, I really wanted to see exactly how I was trending before I made the decision for the next course.
I mean,
So
respect.
I don't even know if that would count as different views. I think it would be more like how much time is the app just open? And it would be like, well, 20 of your 24 hours today.
Like, honestly, same. Hold on, let me just give myself some insulin, which is through my Loop app, which has nothing to do with CGMs. Um, okay, so that the lack of calibration, I think, is definitely something that I need to look up before I say it's a con on my list. But let me Google it while we're talking.
Well, I mean, that also goes along. I will say, and I don't know, I haven't seen the Libre app to compare, but I do feel like as someone who, like, part of the reason that I didn't get a CGM for so long is I am a little bit technology aversive. I'm such a
Yeah,
grandpa. So I do
you want to.
appreciate how, at least to me, I find the Dexcom G6 app very user friendly. Like I did
Yeah,
go to a training session at my doctor's office when I first got it, and I was a little bit nervous because I'm a straight up nerd. So I was like taking notes with pen and paper. Like I brought a notepad.
I think I did
Um,
the same.
I thought I was going to forget all of this stuff, but honestly, anything that I didn't write down or remember exactly what they said, it's fairly, it was fairly easy for me to just pick it right back up, like adjusting the alerts, adjusting all of the sounds for the options that you have. Calibrating is right there, like even changing the sensor out, like it guides you through each of the
Yeah.
steps during the
So
application process. So even though I didn't quite remember every step, it guides you through each and every time. You stop sensor, and then when you go to start new sensor, it brings you through every step every time. So even if I had forgotten all of these important things, I find it pretty user friendly, and I'm so used to it now. I like
yeah.
can't imagine myself with a different CGM.
So the Libre 3 is also pretty user friendly. It's the app is not anything to write home about, in a sense that, like, it doesn't look super pretty, but it's all pretty basic, and you can figure it out yourself for the most part. I did just Google if you can calibrate the Libre 3, and it's something called factory calibrated. So you can't calibrate it because it's supposed to have already been calibrated before they sent it to you, I guess. Like at the factory, it was calibrated, hence factory calibrated. But I don't know anything more than that. And that was just a quick Google. Some aspects of the app that I do find really cool is you can set reminders to check your blood sugar. You can set reminders for things. You have all of these data sets that are applicable and already a part of the app. So you don't need to download a third party app. So, no need to to download the Dexcom. Dexcom has like a whole separate app where you can look at all of your data beyond like the 14, however many days that you can see, or hours that you can see on your app. And you have a logbook, so you can have notes within the app. You can do that in Dexcom as well. But you can, leave notes, things like that. You have daily patterns, time and range, low glucose events, average glucose, your GMI, which I believe is similar to like a guesstimate of an A1C, the data on your sensor usage. Like there is a lot to look at. Do I think it's pretty and as user friendly? No. Do I think that they can definitely improve the app and they'd have an amazing product? Yes. So I'm not a software engineer, so anyone at
And
Abbott listening to this was
is
like, well,
the Libre one app? Because for Dexcom, there's like the Dexcom G6 app, which you open when you want to see what your blood
right.
sugar is, and
And
you can
then
adjust
you
your
have the
alerts and
second
stuff.
ones for your patterns.
Right, but then there's
Yeah.
clarity for the patterns. So is
This
it
is the
one app?
one app. This is the
Cool.
one app. It doesn't break things down as obviously, I think, as Clarity does, but you really only have like 4 different graphs to look at, but they're color coded. It gives you numbers. I'm showing you, Christie. It gives you numbers. It shows you like, your average for certain hours, for up to 90 days, what all this stuff is. So it's really interesting. I really like it. Um, so here's the real kicker for me, and this is the biggest pro that you could really ever write home about, is that they're pricing the Freestyle Libre 3 as the same price as the Freestyle Libre 2. So you're getting, in my opinion, these huge upgrades and very good accuracy, at least so far that I've seen, for a fraction of the price of the Dexcom G6. And a lot of US healthcare providers will, or maybe not providers, insurance providers will cover the cost of a Freestyle Libre to a certain extent more than I believe they would cover that of a Dexcom G6. Um, I'm saying that based off of conversations I've had with other people, but also with my doctors and, pricing of things. So just some food for thought. The Freestyle Libre system costs about $65 a sensor, whereas Dexcom G6 sensor cost is closer to about $361 a sensor.
Wow.
So that's without insurance. I again, don't quote me on that. This is all Googled, but with inflation where it's at, where insulin prices where they are, where pump prices where they are, having a CGM that is so far just as accurate as my Dexcom, that is such a fraction of the price, is insane to me. I have heard from other people that have tried the Libre 3 that it's really not that accurate for them. I don't know if I just got some meaty arms where, I hit the jackpot there, or if I need to wait until like the second week and things will really, change accuracy wise. I can do a follow up and I'll keep you guys posted. But so far, the only reason why I am not putting all my money into Abbott for this product is because I can't loop with it. And if I can loop with it, I think it would involve a lot of work, coding wise, for me to get it to work. But another big reason is that calibration thing that we discussed, and really just the fact that it's not integrated with any systems yet. It's new. Dexcom was new at 1.2, but you can go on the T-Slim and loop with the T-Slim. You loop with the Omnipod 5 and the Dexcom. But if you're someone who's not on an insulin pump and who is iffy about a CGM, I think this is amazing. It gives you so much information. You can turn off pretty much all of the alerts if you want to. You can go into scanning mode, so you only get I think you can only scan it and see your number as opposed to seeing it constantly. There's so many benefits to this product that I am really pleasantly surprised by so far. That could definitely change, but I never thought I'd be this impressed. And again, for like $65 a sensor, that's, that lasts you 4 more days than the $360 sensor of a Dexcom for similar, like, comparative accuracy and comparative of a lot of things. Like, if you don't have a closed loop system pump, then I think it's probably worth your time. Definitely worth looking into and seeing if you can try it out for yourself. But all this is to say, I freaking love my Dexcom. I have a lot of issues with it, but that bitch has been with me through thick and thin. We've seen a lot. We've done a lot together, if you will, but I just rely on my Dexcom more than I would rely on this, for a lot of reasons.
It's a familiar face at this point.
It's not only is it a familiar face, but I know I can calibrate. Um, and that to me is a big, but, like, if I'm having to calibrate, that's also a red flag. So I
But
think,
it does force it to catch up. I mean, it's how I personally get through those first couple of days, and I do find it obnoxious to have to do that. And of course, I was complaining about this before. It tends to do the thing where if it says I'm 60 and I say no, I'm 90, sometimes then the app will be like, okay, you're 75. And I'm like, no, I'm 90.
right,
But
right.
eventually it does get there. And again, after the 2 days, I mean, I definitely go whole days without checking on a finger stick.
Yeah. I just had the hiccup. I hope no one could hear me.
It was precious.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, so this has been your review of the Freestyle Libre 3, versus Dexcom G6. I think that both are amazing, and I feel blessed that I got the opportunity to try both of these out, but also really grateful that we live in a time where we can try these things and we have opportunities, hopefully, to use these. I think that the pricing of the Freestyle Libre 3, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's super affordable, but it is compared to Dexcom. You have to remember that you really only need 2 sensors a month, whereas for Dexcom you need 3. So that's like an extra, so much more money comparatively. Um, but if you don't have an insulin pump, I think that the Freestyle Libre 3 is a really great option. So thank you for letting me talk your ear off. Are there any other questions, Christy?
Just in terms of wearing the Libre, because I'm just so curious, the only time that I've ever lost signal with the Dexcom outside of like a couple of weird events, but the thing that consistently cuts off my signal is when I lean on it. Like if I'm sleeping on it, I find that it cuts off.
Yeah.
Is it the same with the Libre? If you're sleeping on that arm?
So I am currently wearing it on the same arm as my Omnipod. So I'm not sleeping on that arm. I do get compression lows with my Dexcom, so I know exactly what you're talking about. By compression low, we mean something's pressing on it or affecting the fluid that is being read by the CGM. So you're going to see some random ass drop, that should
It's
correct
not
itself within a cycle.
it's not all the time. I don't find that mine drops. I find that it just says can't give you a
Sensor
signal right
error.
now. And
Yeah.
overnight I'm like, "Oh, come on."
Okay, true. So yeah, I haven't experienced that yet with the Freestyle Libre 3, but when my blood sugar is moving too quickly in either direction, I get a sensor error, which usually corrects itself within 5 minutes. Um, but I do think that's really interesting and probably a big reason why I don't think that this will be available as a closed loop system in the future with pumps. Because if you're moving quickly in either direction, and also minute by minute readings there's no way that you can keep up with that in terms of an insulin pump. Like, what are you going to do? Just, you're constantly going to be given insulin and then cutting insulin, like, constantly. But maybe that's what a working pancreas does. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. um,
It sounds so simple.
it sounds so simple, but here we are. I don't know. I'm hopeful. I'm still hopeful. Remember my bionic pancreas thing back in the day at J
Yeah,
school?
that was forever ago.
That was literally like 10, how old are I'm
We're
28.
still ready for it though, for whoever's
Yeah.
working on the bionic pancreas. We're not like the time's not up on that.
Yeah, please pull through. Thank you guys for following along with me. Special shout out to Christy because this has just been me talking at Christy for 40 minutes.
Hey, I learned a lot.
Um, I just love you, Christy. You rock to never change. Guys, I'm going to post about this on Instagram at some point. Life is really busy, so thanks for sticking around for these sporadic episodes posting. But we do have one or two more episodes left of the season, so stay tuned. Things are happening there. Hopefully, we're going to have a little info sesh about the Omnipod 5, which would be really cool. And then get back to our regularly scheduled programming, which doesn't have to do with diabetes tech. Follow us on Instagram at Pancreas_Pals. Follow us on Facebook, Pancreas Pals PUP. Hit us up on both. Email us, slide into our DMs. Our email is pancreaspals123@gmail.com. We love hearing from you guys. Love all of your ideas for episodes and really just love our pals. Christie, as always, you're an angel amongst humans. I appreciate you. Continue growing that life in your belly. Can't wait to meet him. And yeah, that's it. That's all she wrote, guys. Have a great week.
Bye, everybody.
Today's episode was brought to you by US Med Supply. Thanks for listening. Hey, Christie, have you heard of US Med Supply?
I think I've seen a commercial for it. It's a medical supply company, right?
Yeah, but apparently they're the #1 distributor for Freestyle Libre systems nationwide, the #1 specialty distributor for Omnipod Dash, and the #1 fastest growing tandem distributor nationwide. Plus, they're rated as the #1 distributor in Dexcom customer satisfaction surveys.
Ooh, sounds like something I need to check out. Do they partner with most insurance companies?
Yep, and they'll even help us get set up and work with our insurance companies so we don't have to spend hours on the phone.
The actual dream.
Right? We and all of our pals can head to usmed.com/pals or call 888-721-1516 to sign up now.
Already on their website.